Welcome back, everyone, to the Chat with Faye podcast, where we talk about everything that's going on in my life. I am your host, Aiden. Before we get started here, I recommend that you watch these episodes in order. Because I like for you guys to get to know me first before I talk about like all the other topics and stuff. Today I have my guest. Today I have a special guest here today. She is my mother.
Hi.
And she's helped me out a ton throughout life. So let's get started. All right. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how I got to where I am today. And then I'm going to ask my mom a few questions. Because she knows a lot more about the early years than I do, I believe. So
Your memory is pretty good.
yeah, I'd say it's pretty good, but so without further ado, let's get started.
Hi.
Hi. So what was it like? So what was it like raising somebody like me?
That's a loaded question. I think it was awesome raising somebody like you.
Thank you.
You taught me a lot. You taught me everything that I know. And I actually wouldn't be a teacher now helping a lot of kids across the country if I didn't have you as my son.
Got ya.
So I think it's pretty cool raising somebody like you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
And just so you know, you can ask me questions too.
Oh, okay.
Because this is like a conversation episode, so.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm allowed to ask you questions too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, was I a pretty good mom growing up?
I think you were.
Oh, well, thanks.
I think you were.
So you want to talk about the early years?
Yeah, so I'd like to talk about the early years as of right now.
Okay. So, what about the early years do you have questions about? So I can answer them. Anything specific?
I don't mean this in a bad way, but what have you put me through in order to become the
The amazing person that you are today?
Yeah.
Everything you had to go through?
Yeah, like I didn't mean it in a bad way. I'm just saying everything you put me through
To get you where you are today? Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, like in terms of did you do anything for me, like therapy, all that stuff?
So you want to talk about from the very beginning?
Yes.
Okay. So you have a really good memory. Your memory is actually better than mine. But if I remember differently, will you please tell me?
Yes.
Okay. So are we going back from the beginning of when you got diagnosed with autism?
Yes.
Okay. So in the beginning, I was pregnant with you is when it actually started. And I had a dream that I was going to have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby, and he would have autism. I had no idea what autism was at that time. So I kind of looked it up just so I could kind of figure that out. And then I kind of put it in the back of my head. And then you were born, my son, and you had blonde hair and blue eyes. And about 15 months old, you would only eat certain things. You were talking and then you stopped talking at about 1. Your first word was button, which is very weird for a first word.
Oh, wow. I would say I'm pretty weird, so.
I don't think I think we're all weird, but, so your first word was button, and then, you stopped talking. So I looked it up. There was a book called What to Expect When You're Expecting, and it was like a book that you read when you were pregnant. And then they had one that was called What to Expect. I think it was the newborn years or something. And I looked up food aversions, And you know how at the bottom there's like a little star asterisk, and it said like it's like little like a notation. It said see autism. So it made me think of my dream, and I looked up autism, and you fit every thing. Like you stopped talking, you stopped making eye contact with things, and things like that. So where we lived in Erie was we were fortunate enough to be near a research institute called the Barber National Institute, which was amazing.
AKA, sorry to interrupt, AKA the Barber Center.
The Barber Center, yep. And the doctors there were, because it was an autism research institute, all the doctors that are in our area knew a lot about autism. So I took you in at 15 months, and you got diagnosed at 15 months, and you were in therapy by 18 months. So, which is very, very key.
I thought I got diagnosed when I was... Sorry. Just so you know, I'm sorry about all this. Sometimes I was just trying to keep my, like, screen bright, so that's why I keep, like, tapping it and all that
You're
stuff.
fine. You're fine.
I thought I was born with it.
Well, you probably were, but it doesn't come out until you get a little bit older. So,
Really?
Yeah, because you have to be able to talk, and you have to show certain signs. And you were walking on your toes a lot, and you would play with cars and toys differently than your cousins and your brother. So that's what tipped it off. But you were in therapy at 18 months, and they would come over and play with you, and we did a lot of sensory things. You didn't like the way Play-Doh felt, and you didn't like all that stuff, but I was a big proponent of, okay, if you don't like it, that's fine, but there is things in this world that you're going to have to deal with, and Play-Doh is one of those things. Like, all preschools use Play-Doh, you use Play-Dohs for a whole bunch of stuff. So we just kept on making you touching it, and you grew fine with it. You never were upset or anything. Yes, go ahead.
Going back to the toy thing, like, how would I play with toy? Just to be specific, how would I play with toys compared to how, like, lots of other kids you see play with toys?
So you would, okay, so if you had a toy that was a ring stacker, right? It's a pretty common toy for kids. And it had different size rings in, and you put them on the peg. It's a fine motor skill toy. And it would light up. It would make sounds and light up. Instead of putting the rings on it, you would flip it over and try to take the batteries out and see. You were more in tune with how they worked than actually playing with the toy.
Oh, wow.
If that makes sense. So, and when we had your cousins, you and your cousins are all very, very close in age. They would all be playing together, and you would be off to the side. So you never really played with them all. You just kind of watched them play. And it was like certain things like that just kind of ticked me off. And so that's why we got the diagnosis for you. So you started off in speech therapy, and you did speech therapy for a little bit. And then at 3 years old is when you started like real therapy, where you did ABA, but it wasn't the ABA with the negative side effects. The research institute that we were, the Barber Center, they didn't do, there's a lot of things on ABA, which you know, because you've been in social skills, or not in social skills groups. You've been in adult groups where they've had negative ABA, and those people have been very affected by it.
Right.
The Barber Center didn't believe in negative ABA. It was all very positive. And so they retrained your brain on how to think things. So you have had every therapy under the sun. And you got discontinued from therapy. Oh Lord, when did we move to Ohio?
2010.
There, see, I need to remember. You got every kind of therapy that you could get, up until 2010, and in Pennsylvania it was all for free. So we didn't have to pay for anything. So it was pretty cool. But
I like to thank you, and I like to thank the Barber Center for allowing me to become like the person who I am today.
oh, you're amazing, Aiden. I'd like to thank you for like teaching me how to work with kids.
I appreciate that.
But it was you had every therapy. Like, we were in the right place at the right time, quite honestly. That we really were with people who knew how to help you. Did you tell your listeners your story about how you got diagnosed?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. So you got diagnosed.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So if you guys are hearing this again, I apologize.
So you got diagnosed. They came over to the house. The psychologist. There was somebody else. I can't remember right now. And your brother, I think, was only 3 months old. Because you guys are very, very close in age. You're like 15 or 16 months apart. Like, it's really close.
I'm the older one.
Yep, you are. And they told me you had autism. They told me you...
Wait, I think sorry to interrupt. I think I did hear about it.
Did you share it?
Yep.
Okay.
I think I did share it.
Okay, that they said you'd never talk, you'd never be in typical school, you would never live on your own.
That's BS.
Yeah. And I said, the hell he won't. He will do all of those things. And then they said, well, now we're going to watch your other son. Because if autism is in one member, it's usually in the other member if it's boys. So we had to worry about too.
My brother has not been diagnosed yet, but...
What are you going to say about your brother?
I don't know. I don't know if he actually has it or not. I don't know. I'm not going to jump to conclusions yet, but...
I don't think he does, but I have to say, I think everybody has a little bit of autism in them for certain things.
You think?
I really, truly do.
Got ya.
I just do. There's certain things that I think every person does. Every person stims. It might be not stimming like you do with your pencil. It might be tapping their foot. It might be even like picking on your fingernails. That's a stim. I think every person stims. Every person has some way of dealing with that stuff. So I would think that.
Got ya.
What else? Where were we?
I don't know if I agree, but I hear you.
Oh, well, thank you. So we did that, and then you went to, you had ABA therapy. Who were your ABA therapists?
Holly and Sabrina.
Yep. They were your ABA. Well, Sabrina was your behavioral specialist.
Yeah.
And you were lucky enough, you got 6 hours of therapy a day. Do you know that? You got 3 hours in the morning.
I surprisingly probably don't remember that.
You probably don't. You were very young. You were like 3. So you got 3 hours in the morning, and you had a lunch, and you had your nap, and then you got 3 hours in the afternoon. And you worked on all kinds of things. And so Sabrina was your behavioral specialist. She was one of them. And then Holly was your ABA therapist. And then you went to the Barber Center, which was they had a special preschool there. So you would work in a school setting, but it was kind of controlled, so you could still like work on your ABA and then be in a school setting. And then you went to a traditional school in kindergarten.
Iroquois.
You went to Iroquois in kindergarten. And do you remember your kindergarten teacher?
Mrs. Flowers.
Yeah, Mrs. Flowers. So in Erie, where we're from, all the schools had autistic support rooms. So if your child had autism, it was kind of like a home base. You'd go in and check in, and then they would go out and be in the classrooms and things like that. Now remember, you're 23, so that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
They would be in classroom most of the days, but if they needed, most of the day, but if they needed to take a break, they could go back to the room and kind of just compose and relax and kind of take a break from all the stressors of being in a traditional classroom. So it worked really well. And there was only 4 kids in your class because it just opened.
Even smaller than the school I went to and graduated in.
Yeah. There was only 4 kids, but you all pushed into like traditional school settings. But it was really cool because it actually taught you how to be a part in a classroom and how to function in the classroom and how to be a student. But if it still got to be too much, you could take a break and go back to the classroom, which kindergarten was hard for you. It was very, very hard. You had a lot of behaviors. You destroyed a lot of classrooms. And it used to have a paper when they would have an incident with you where you would just get like so frustrated. I'd have to go in and sign to say like, this is still the right classroom for him. He still wants to be here. Like, I still think this is the right classroom for him. And it got to the point where I would say, you had to do them every month. And I would say, hold them to the 27th of the month. I will come in and I will just sign them all. And then we'd start again. But that was only for a few months. But you got it. I mean, you had to learn how to be in a classroom setting. And I understand that. And then you were fine. You went to first grade, second grade, third grade. You were fine. You were on an IEP. You still did all your speech therapies. Yes.
I moved to Ohio, and I moved to a school called Danbury in third grade.
Yep. And you moved here, and you went to Danbury in third grade, still on an IEP, and you've been fine ever since. So you've been a rock star.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So when you say like, what did you have to do to raise me? I mean, it was a lot. We did a lot of therapy. You can ask Dad downstairs. I mean, that's your stepdad, but you know him as Dad. And we wouldn't leave Pennsylvania until all your therapies were done. So there was that. So
I could see how it could be hard to raise me. I mean, I know sometimes it can be a lot.
It wasn't hard to raise you. I think it's hard to raise any kid, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
But I think every kid has their challenges. But your challenges were so unique, and I never looked at you as being hard to raise, ever. I just looked at, I was given you for a reason, and you have a reason for being here. And you're an amazing, amazing person. And quite honestly, you are the strongest person I know. There are so many things that you had to deal with in your life, and you still do deal with, that you do, and we don't even think about. And I mean, simple things that we take for granted that we just do on our own, that's a big deal for you. And you just do them, and you do them willingly, and you never give up. So I don't think it's ever been a pain to raise you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Do you think people like me always will have to deal with things until they die?
Well, I don't think it's just people like you. I think everyone has to deal with something.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I think you have a unique set of things you have to deal with. But I don't think that's everybody has something that they want to deal with.
Yeah.
Is it unique to you? Yeah. But what have you overcome so far?
How would you describe unique?
How would I describe unique?
Yeah, if you don't have an answer, that's okay. But I would like to go into specifics just to let the audience, just to let people know.
Unique. When you say unique, what do you mean?
Oh boy. I mean, like, would there be like any challenges that I had to deal with that lots of people did not have to deal with?
Absolutely.
I think that too.
What, do you remember any challenges off the top of your head?
Oh boy, I don't know. I feel like it'd be better if you explain them, no offense, but no.
Yeah, so you wouldn't go down any supermarket aisle that was the number 8. So
9.
Was it 9?
Yeah.
See?
8's my favorite number.
I know, that's why. Okay.
I would never not turn down a market like that. Not like that.
So 9. And you would literally throw a fit. Like pulling my hair, screaming and everything. And I was like, Aiden, and I mean, you were 3 at the time, but I was like, you are going to have to go down a supermarket that isn't aisle 9 in your life. Like,
yeah.
You are going to have to do this. We are going to get through this. And we actually would go to the grocery store every single day and go down aisle number 9. And I used to, like, positively reward you as we were going down. Like, we'd walk in, like, it started It started from the very beginning. We walked into the aisle, and then we walked out. And you got like a Nerd or something. Like that was your favorite candy back then.
I still love those candies.
Yeah, so we'd do that for like a couple days in a row. And then the next day we'd walk in and we'd take like 5 steps in and then we'd walk out. And I always made you say, okay, done. Because I wanted you to still feel like you had control of when we were leaving the aisle. And I wanted you to realize you can use your voice to get out of a situation you don't like. So we always did that. So we would walk in, 5 steps. I'd look at you. I'd say, "Say done, Aiden, done," and then we'd walk out, and I'd give you your reward. So we would do that over and over and over again. We did that for a long time. But now, look, you work at a grocery store.
Yeah.
And you can go down all those aisles.
Mm-hmm.
That was one. Just anything socially. Like we lived near a park, and I would take freeze pops with us and give them to you. And all the kids would come up to you, and you would have to talk to them. And they'd have to ask you for a freeze pop, and you would have to answer. And it also made you the most popular kid in the neighborhood because,
God.
when they saw you coming with freeze pops, everyone liked to be with you. So it was that kind of thing. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, everything. Social skills we had to work with. Trying to think what else. Anything with loud sounds we had to work with. But we did all that. I taught you how to face read a lot. And I would, because you didn't understand people's expressions. So I would mute the TV, and then I would pause it when they were like, because actors usually make really big expressions on their faces. I would pause the TV and say, like when you could talk more, "Aiden, what are they feeling? Describe that face." So you would do that. There was a lot of things we did, Aiden, that we did when you were like, until like 8, probably 8 years old. Like 3 to 8 when you really started talking, that we really worked on.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I still think there's unique things going on, don't you think? Probably.
Yeah.
It just all depends, I think. But I think that's with everybody. Everybody has something.
Got ya.
Anything else? I'm sorry.
You're
fine.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I struggle to come up with stuff.
That's okay. Did I answer all your questions? About your early years?
I'd say so.
Okay. You had physical therapy, you had fine motor therapy, you had speech therapy. You went to a social skills camp in the summers that was put on by the Barber Institute that I actually taught. That was one of my first teaching jobs that you taught at, or that you went to, and it was just nothing but social skills all summer long. You did that. I mean, you really...
I miss classes like that, I gotta be honest with you.
Do you? You ran the gamut. You pretty much did everything. But I wouldn't be a teacher today if I didn't have you.
Aw, thank you.
You're so welcome, so thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
I think that's it.
All right, wrap it up, eh?
Alright, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. You can find my podcast on Spotify and on my YouTube channel, China Faye. So, hope you guys tune in and enjoy. I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.